Michael paced up and down his room, excitement coursing through his veins. Today was the day he was leaving for his National Youth Service Corps posting. After years of jumping in and out of relationships, nights spent drinking with friends, and somehow managing to graduate with good grades, Michael was ready to step into the next phase of life. He felt a sense of freedom like never before. His parents, however, had a different outlook on his upcoming service year. His mother, a firm but loving woman, stood at the door watching him pack. "Michael," she said, her voice serious, "I want you to listen to me before you leave." He glanced up, already knowing what was coming. His father stood beside her, nodding in agreement. "We've spoken to you about this many times," his father added. "You're going to a different part of the country, and we need you to be careful. This isn't the university anymore. People will expect more from you. You need to control your urges and focus on your responsibilities." Michael tried to keep a straight face, but a chuckle escaped him. "Dad, Mom, come on, relax. I've got this under control." His mother wasn't convinced. "That's exactly what worries me. You always say you have things under control, but you've never shown restraint. You jump from one girl to the next, and sooner or later, you're going to get yourself into trouble." Michael zipped up his suitcase and shrugged. "I'll be fine. Stop worrying." But his parents weren't so easily swayed. His father crossed his arms. "Just remember, you're not in university anymore. You can't afford to keep making reckless choices. People are watching, and there will be consequences if you don't change your ways." Michael put on his best good son act, nodding earnestly and pretending to absorb their advice. Inside, however, he couldn't wait to get away. He was excited about the adventures that awaited him in the NYSC camp, and the thought of being in a new environment filled him with anticipation. Finally, after a few more reminders from his parents, he grabbed his bags and headed out. As the car drove him to the camp, Michael's mind wandered. He laughed to himself, imagining all the excitement he would soon experience. He wasn't worried about being careful. In fact, he was planning to do the exact opposite. NYSC camp was everything Michael had hoped for and more. From the moment he arrived, the energy was palpable. Fresh-faced Corps members from all over the country were eager to start this new chapter in their lives, and Michael felt right at home. It didn't take long for him to find the kind of fun he was seeking. The camp was buzzing with youthful energy, and it seemed like everyone was eager to let loose after the rigid routines of university. Late-night parties, casual flirtations, and fleeting romances were the order of the day. Michael, being the charming young man he was, quickly became the center of attention. Girls gravitated toward him, and he played along, knowing exactly how to keep their interest. His favorite pastime became sneaking off to quiet corners of the camp, away from prying eyes, with whichever girl caught his fancy that day. But his reckless behavior almost got him into serious trouble. One evening, he was caught by a camp official, tucked away in a dimly lit area with a fellow Corps member, his arm around her waist. The official's flashlight cut through the darkness, illuminating their guilty faces. "What's going on here?" the official demanded, his voice booming with authority. Michael's heart raced. He knew the camp's rules were strict, and getting caught in a compromising situation could lead to severe consequences, including expulsion from camp. His mind raced as he tried to think of a way out. Quick on his feet, he feigned innocence, plastering a disarming smile on his face. "Oh, sir, nothing serious. We were just talking about camp activities. I promise there's no harm being done here." The official looked skeptical, but Michael's charm seemed to have an effect. After a tense pause, the official gave them both a stern warning before allowing them to leave. Michael breathed a sigh of relief. He had escaped expulsion by the skin of his teeth. As the days in camp drew to a close, Michael reflected on his near miss. For a brief moment, he considered taking his parents' advice seriously, but the excitement of his upcoming posting pushed those thoughts aside. He convinced himself that he was just having harmless fun. What he didn't know was that his next posting would change his life forever. Michael's heart sank when he received his posting. He had been assigned to a rural community in the far-flung western part of the country, where he would be teaching at an all-girls high school. The idea of living in a quiet village wasn't exactly appealing to someone like Michael, who thrived on excitement and adventure. Still, he figured there had to be some way to make this situation work to his advantage. After all, he was young, handsome, and charming, qualities that had always served him well. When he arrived at the school, he was introduced to the principal, Mr. David. The older man had a strict demeanor, but greeted Michael with respect. "Welcome to Delight High School, Mr. Michael," he said, shaking his hand firmly. "We're glad to have you here. You'll be teaching the senior girls in preparation for their final exams. It's an important role, and I trust you'll do your best." Michael nodded, putting on his most professional face. "Of course, sir. I'll do my best to help the students excel." At first, Michael threw himself into his work. Teaching wasn't as difficult as he had imagined, and he found himself enjoying the challenge of helping the students improve their grades. The girls admired him, not just for his teaching, but also for his appearance. His good looks and easygoing nature quickly made him popular among both students and staff. Unbeknownst to Michael, his popularity among the senior girls was causing quite a stir. 3 of the girls, Sandra, Grace, and Helen, were particularly taken with him. They admired his confidence, his charm, and his looks, and soon enough, the trio developed crushes on him. One day, during a break between classes, the 3 friends gathered under a tree in the schoolyard. They giggled as they talked about Mr. Michael, sharing their secret thoughts about him. "Do you think he likes any of us?" Sandra asked, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "Maybe," Grace replied. "But how would we know? He's a teacher, after all. He has to be professional." Helen, the boldest of the 3, smirked. "Who says teachers can't be interested in their students? I bet one of us could win him over if we tried." The girls exchanged glances, the idea taking root in their minds. It started as a harmless fantasy, but soon, it grew into a game, a dangerous bet. Each girl would try to win Michael's attention, and the first to succeed would claim victory. Sandra was the first to make her move. After class one afternoon, she approached Michael with a shy smile. "Mr. Michael, I was wondering if you'd like some help with cooking. I know how hard it must be living alone, and I can bring you some ingredients to make dinner easier." Michael, flattered by the offer, agreed. His self-control slipped as he accepted her invitation. He didn't think much of it. After all, it was just a meal. Next, it was Grace's turn. She approached Michael under the guise of needing extra tutoring. "Sir, I'm really struggling with the material for the exams. Could you give me some private lessons? I want to make sure I do well." Michael, eager to help a diligent student, agreed to the private sessions. He convinced himself that it was all innocent, but his thoughts lingered on Grace longer than they should have. Finally, Helen decided to take a different approach. She began showering Michael with small gifts, local snacks, handwritten notes, even a new notebook for his lesson plans. She played the long game, hoping that her generosity would tempt him. It wasn't long before Michael, struggling with his own lack of self-control, found himself entangled with all 3 girls. Each of them thought they were the only one, unaware of the other's involvement. The secret relationship between Michael and the girls carried on for weeks. During class, he couldn't help but give them special attention, favoring them in ways that didn't go unnoticed by the other students. His lingering glances and subtle compliments were enough to make the other girls in the class suspicious. Whispers began to spread. "Why does Mr. Michael always call on Sandra, Grace, and Helen?" one student asked her friend. "I don't know, but something feels off," the friend replied. "He never pays attention to the rest of us like that." Despite the growing tension, Michael's lack of control only deepened. He found himself drawn to the 3 girls in a way that compromised both his teaching and his integrity. He gave them higher grades than they deserved, spent more time with them than necessary, and allowed their presence to dominate his thoughts. But the girls were also competing with each other, even though they didn't realize it. Each one wanted to outdo the others, vying for Michael's attention in increasingly bold ways. They shared stories of their encounters, laughing and teasing each other about who had won his favor the most. However, the competition took a dark turn when all 3 girls realized something terrifying. They had missed their periods. Sandra, Grace, and Helen sat in the bathroom, their faces pale with fear. They had confided in one another, each admitting that it had been weeks since their last menstrual cycle. The implications were clear, and the reality of what they had done hit them like a ton of bricks. "What are we going to do?" Grace whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know," Helen replied, her usual boldness gone. "But if our parents find out, we're dead." The panic spread through them, but they knew they couldn't keep it a secret for long. Rumors had already been swirling among the students, and it was only a matter of time before someone connected the dots. Eventually, word reached the school administration. Mr. David, the principal, called Michael into his office. His expression was grave, and Michael knew something was wrong. "Mr. Michael," the principal began, "I've heard some disturbing rumors, and I need you to be honest with me. Is there any truth to these claims about inappropriate relationships with students?" Michael's heart pounded in his chest. He had thought he could keep everything under control, but now it seemed like his actions were about to catch up with him. I don't know what you're talking about, sir," Michael stammered, trying to deflect. But Mr. David wasn't convinced. "These are serious allegations, and I need you to understand the gravity of the situation. If these rumors are true, your career and future are at risk. You must come clean before it's too late." Fear gripped Michael as he realized the full extent of what he had done. He had not only compromised his role as a teacher, but he had also jeopardized the futures of the girls involved. His lack of self-control had led him down a path of destruction, and now he was standing at the edge of a cliff. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of today's story? Until next time, take care and stay tuned for more amazing content.